My friends, in the event that you are new to this wonderful card game and you have not yet signed up for a UGN Play account, you can now sign up with my exclusive referral code Alliteration and get yourself 50 bonus loyalty points for free, as well as additional loyalty points for every event that you play in within my referral code period. Why do you need these, you might ask? Well, loyalty points can be used to redeem free promotional cards in the mail, as well as other exclusive items coming in the future. The bonus points from using my code are enough to redeem almost any promo card right off the bat, and having your UGN account is going to allow you to accrue and track more and more as you go through your hero or villain's journey. If free cards and progression all sound super appealing to you, the links for all of this are going to be in the description below. Now, let's get on to the video. Welcome, my dear viewer, to another Alliteration gaming video. My name's Levi, and today it's time to talk about the ban list. Welcome to your obligatory ban list video. Yes, since the very end of our national season, the community has been clamoring for updates to the ban list. I have been clamoring myself. My video on what I would ban in the game came out, sometime last week, just a few days ago, and Jasco has finally delivered. They have given us the December 2022 ban and errata list update. So I have looked at this already, obviously, but basically, if you want to know my thoughts pre-ban list, you can go check out my own personal ban list video. I'm gonna have the link in the description and probably in the pinned comment as well if you want to get an idea of what I was expecting and or hoping for when it came to this ban list update. For now though, let's just scroll down and hear Jasco's very own thoughts on what they have to say. Greetings, heroes. Following a rigorous national season, we've analyzed the gameplay data and have found certain decks to have outlier win percentages, whilst either having incredibly high power floors or ceilings. Both correct. Given the tournament and locals data we've been collecting, that's interesting, locals data as well, UGN does track everything, we've decided to make these additions to the banned and errata list to balance out the format and open up more characters into the meta, effective Monday, December 12th. So next week these things are starting out. So balance out the format and open up more characters into the meta. These are the two main goals here of this list, according to this paragraph right here. So let's kind of keep that in mind as we look through things and see, does it balance out the format and open up more characters into the meta? First thing is Crow and Frog Takedown is gone, straight up banned. Crow and Frog, no more Crow and Frog. All right, this is not unexpected. This is, I think, was probably the most obvious thing in the world. Everyone has been screaming for this. Let's see what justification though Jasco brings in. This attack brings great stability to the decks it's strong in, helping to end games much quicker, yes, much quicker, and bring less stress on the attacker's resources. Yes, you get to attack for free. Zero decision making, no stress, no risks, all the reward. The decks where this card is most problematic tend to be decks trying to end the game much earlier than we are comfortable with. Okay. Winning the game on early turns is a viable strategy, but this card increases the consistency to achieve that result by an unhealthy margin. So this just says turn 2s, right? On early turns, consistent by unhealthy margins. Yeah, this is turn 2 victories. So this says we don't want turn 2 victories, which is really interesting because I think a lot of the design feels like it says we really are down for turn 2 victories the majority of the time. So it looks like this is less the designer's intent and more so just the way the community is figuring out how to play these cards to the best of their abilities. Granted, Crow and Frog is also a much older card, right? Everything in set 1 can kind of like everything in set 1 can kind of be taken with a bit of a grain of salt because it was designed like more as like at standards power level, and then from set 2 onwards we've been at like the new MHA power level while they're also trying to figure out that power level. So like really realistically, a lot of set 1's cards are just kind of like in that world where they might just kind of be of a different design philosophy in the past than we have right now. But regardless of how you think, this attack just makes a total ton of sense. You're hitting Tokoyami and Asui, two of the best decks at the same time. You are unfortunately hitting a lot of like really lower tier characters like Coda and Pixie Bob, but honestly, Crow and Frog existing shouldn't have been like the reason why those characters are playable. Like it should be on Jasco to print more actual support for those characters, and I'm sure they will at some point in time. Crow and Frog just being a broken infinity symbol card with two really relevant keywords was just not something that needed to be a mainstay from here on out. And I'm very glad that this card is going the way of the dodo. This card does three majorly problematic things. The first thing is turn 2 kills, very consistent turn 2 kills. We don't like that. Second thing is it goes against a lot of the philosophy of attacking in this game. Less stress on the attacker's resources. Again, this is something that I've talked a lot about, especially when I'm talking about decks like Tokoyami, is attacking with no stress, attacking with no risk, because you get to ready all your things, you get to draw all your cards back, you don't have to worry about your resources being consumed by attacking the opponent. It takes that whole risk versus versus reward like aspect of the game out, and that's like the big thing about aggro in this game is that philosophy. So it's a huge offense to that philosophy. And then 3, it's a huge offense to game design. This card has the infinity symbols and 2 really relevant keywords, and just like a lot of decks getting their hands on a card like this in the future can be really problematic. The Asui Tokoyami enhance to ready anything means we just like cannot print Asui or Tokoyami character cards that have insane like commit costs, and we have to be wary about printing cards on their symbols that they can interact with, like we saw with Exhausted Exclamation just getting to draw free cards off of this, and Petty Squabble getting to just see so many cards as you go through your turn. Yeah, this card just was a huge offense to a lot of really pivotal things in this game, and that's why it had to be banned. You know, going into the next card, Stronger in Darkness is banned. This is actually really surprising to me. This is something that was like thrown around a lot back in like the set 2 era of Tokoyami's dominance, but I didn't think it was something that was going to actually come to fruition. While this only works for a small portion of characters, it is simply too strong for its low risk of play. Compared to the similarly shaped basic training was the number, I'm guessing 1, most played card at the Pro Hero Nationals in Dallas. Stronger in Darkness is drastically stronger in characters who can take advantage of it. Naturally, it is much more comparable to cards such as Bench Press or Making a Stand, cards that have a higher difficulty and impact on deck building. So all of this is correct. All of this is correct, right? I'm not going to contest any of these words. Basic training is just like substantially worse Stronger in Darkness, and then Stronger in Darkness is substantially better Bench Press and Making a Stand. To like, Basic Training is a card with like a very similar stat line, but Stronger is just way better than it. And Bench Press and Making a Stand are cards with way worse stat lines, right? These are 2 5s. These are 2 difficulty 5 check foundations, while this is a 0 difficulty. That's way better. Like it's unconditional as long as it's in a deck what it's unconditional in, which is also like what this says, right? Stronger in characters who can take advantage of it. Naturally, yeah, but at the same time, like that's still a factor to consider. Like, yes, needing your character committed is a cost, like that's like the whole point of the card though, but in a deck that commits their character like nonchalantly, it's not a cost, right? It's not a cost or a condition, it is just free. And that's kind of the issue where it starts like ramping to be a lot better than cards like Bench Press or Making a Stand or Basic Training who have similar, again, or who have similar or worse stat lines. So like all of those things are correct. The reason why I actually don't like this ban though, I think this is the wrong way to hit Tokoyami, because if so like, yes, we can read all of these words and agree that they're correct. Do these words justify a ban? That's where I think the answer is a little more tumultuous, because I think, like, so we talked about set 1 just a little bit earlier, right? Set 1 was designed with a very different power curve in mind. It was much more designed with standard in mind, and set 1 as a whole is like really busted. There are so many cards in set 1 that I could just name off the top of my head that like really could be ban worthy. Like if you really wanted to, you could easily write a paragraph that would easily justify banning something like a Electric Jolt or Manly Passionate Guy or Hardened Jab or Specialist of Sound, Zest from Mainstream Success, Requesting Assistance, Hardened Chop, Release, Heroic Lineage. Like there's so many cards from set 1 that are just obviously like way above the curve on what we're printing nowadays and are just like super busted compared to anything else in our game. And I think Stronger in Darkness is more so on that list, and if you start banning those, like you can't ban those based on power level is more so what I'm saying, because if you do, you have to just ban them all, and then we don't have like good cards in our game anymore until eventually we just rotate set 1 out. Maybe that's like a far away in the future possibly thing that could happen, but for now, like those are all cards that just exist in our game, and the card pool's not small enough to where you can just start banning those based on their power level alone. But obviously, like Stronger in Darkness didn't get banned based on its singular alone power level. It got banned because of how busted it is in Tokoyami, right? We're trying to hit Tokoyami here, and so my argument is that if we're not banning Stronger based on the justification of its power level, we're banning it because of it making Tokoyami busted. If we're banning a card that makes Tokoyami busted, I think there's just way better hits we could have made. We could have touched Ruin, we could have touched Summon Dark Shadow somehow. There's just a lot of other ways we could have gone. If we thought that the Crow and Frog hit was not enough, and like, spoiler alert, it's not. I'm gonna give global thoughts on what I think this list does and how it impacts things once we get to the end of it. But if you don't think that the Crow and Frog hit was enough, there are just other ways that I think would have been a lot better ways to touch Tokoyami and to continue to nerf him past that point, and hitting Stronger in Darkness was like not the one that I would have had in mind. It's I don't think it's one that anyone's gonna like bat an eye at, because again, you can make the argument for any of those really busted set 1 cards being banned, that could easily convince someone why it should be banned. But that's like a slippery slope, right? That's like a slippery slope if we're gonna start banning those just based on their power level. Then all of a sudden we've got to kick a lot of other really good cards to the curb, and I don't think that we're there. We just have to ban things based on like problematic decks as they come up, and that's what this ban is supposed to be for Tokoyami. I'm not like unhappy about this ban. I just think that there were better ways to do it that like more so fit the philosophy of why we were banning a card in this slot. Anyway though, moving on, Kirishima 2 is errata. His enhanced twice per turn is now once per turn. Kirishima's consistency is higher than where we would like him to be, so we're trimming his effectiveness a bit. His enhanced being once per turn will help ensure he sees less cards and has access to less ready cards over a turn cycle. Yeah, this makes total sense. I think this is pretty much the change that everyone really wanted to see. I don't think you needed to get any cuter with the way to fix him. He was just like numerically speaking too efficient and too good, and this just cuts that quite literally in half. I think this is like the perfectly fine change. You didn't need to get any more out of hand with it. I think that the deck as a whole is still really strong. I think to really bring Kirishima down to everyone else's power level, you've got to hit the rest of the cards in his deck, but that's a discussion we're going to get to very shortly. For now though, within the context of Kirishima itself, yeah, I don't have anything crazy to say about it. This is the change that I wanted in my video. I think this change is just perfect. We appreciate your ongoing support of the My Hero Academia CCG, and will continue to work towards creating fun and engaging gameplay experiences across all player types. Thank you from the Jasco Games team. Thank you, Jasco Games team. I super appreciate all of these bans, but I do have some thoughts. So, am I happy with this ban list? Yes and no. Am I happy with the 3 cards that were changed and how they were changed? Yeah. Crow and Frog needs to be banned. Kirishima needed to be once per turn. Stronger didn't need to be banned, but like again, I'm not like unhappy about it. What I'm unhappy about is this feels like half of the ban list. What do I think this changes about the meta? What do I think this impacts? Almost zero. I think there's very little change across the meta, because like realistically speaking, we had like 5 best decks, 2 of them being slightly above the rest. We had Tokoyami and we had Kirishima, and then under them we had Asui, we had Jiro, and we had Ojiro. So like those are the 5 best decks, and now I think all this list has done has brought Tokoyami and Kirishima down in line with those other 3, and those are just like the 5 best decks now. Tokoyami and Kirishima are pretty much tickled by this ban list. There are really good things spam wise to replace Stronger in Darkness with. It only like slows down their curve a little bit, and then replacing Crow and Frog is not as easy, but like you just put more Twisting Azures, put more Freezer Burns. There's the ranged package is insane. There's a ton of good replacements that you can put into the slot. You can put Frozen Slashes, right? There are already a lot of attacks competing for space in Tokoyami. Like this attack was not a critical part of anyone's game plan that it's being cut out. The card pool is just big enough to where that's not the case anymore, and it especially wasn't a critical part of Tokoyami's game plan. It just lowers his power level down a little, which is like what a ban or an errata should be. Like it shouldn't cripple the character's strategy, it should just weaken it a little bit, and it definitely weakens it a little bit, but like Tokoyami is still just gonna like draw a couple Summon Dark Shadows and just blow you out of the water. He's gonna do it like slightly less consistently, I think, and he's gonna have to like think a little bit more to do it, which is good. Like this is very good, but as far as hitting Tokoyami and Kirishima, I think they needed to be hit more. On Kirishima's side of things, we touched him, but we didn't actually touch anything inside of his deck. We didn't hit the Earth symbol at all, which I think is just crazy. Like we essentially have only tickled Tokoyami and Kirishima, and then on Asui's end, she lost Crow and Frog, but her character card remains untouched. So I think like her ceilings are still just absolutely ridiculous. Her losing Crow and Frog really didn't mean that much. It basically just gave her like extra resources, which is, I mean, good for sure, but it doesn't take away like the core game plan of the character and its effectiveness, which I don't think it should, but it definitely only hit it a teeny bit. So like my main point here is that we have only tickled Tokoyami, Kirishima, and Asui, and then we've left Ojiro and Jiro completely untouched, meaning these 5 best decks are still the 5 best decks. And overall, I'm just not a big fan of that, especially for like what this is why I wanted to highlight that sentence so much, to balance out the format and open up more characters into the meta. I don't think this list does either of those things. I don't think it balances out the format. The 5 best decks are still the 5 best decks. It's just not 2 and 3, it's 5 now. And this does not open up more characters into the meta. I think Kirishima is still like he's just as strong as he is at gatekeeping everyone else out of the game. Tokuyami is just as good as he is at just blowing out every 7-hander that can't block 4 attacks on turn 2. I am really happy with the changes that are on here, but I think there needs to be a lot more. Like this really feels like it was only half of the ban list that we really need. I think the fact that seizing is still going to run amok is nuts, and I think that nothing else on the earth symbol getting touched is crazy. Even if you didn't want to hit One with Nature because it's a new card and people like playing with the new cards, go hit Back Alley Haymaker or go hit Hardened Chop if you really want to. There are a lot of other changes that could have been made to actually balance out the format and open up more characters into the meta. And while these 3 are a really good first step to doing that, I think they're only that, right? They're only a step. But I would really just like to see all of these problems that have been problems for like a very long time now not be problems anymore. And so that's my overall take on this ban list. I do really like what they did here, but I don't think that they were heavy-handed enough, especially to support the philosophy that they're putting in the article right here. I simply don't think that the hammer came down hard enough, although I am glad to see it come down where it did come down. Again, if you want to see my full opinions and perspective on what I think should be done to the game, I once again will have my theoretical ban list video, link in the description below, or at least in the pinned comments for sure, so you can go check that out and get like my full thoughts and grasp on the situation and a little bit more insight as to why I'm not 100% pleased with this list. That being said though, thanks so much for watching all the way to the end of this video, and if you appreciated and enjoyed the insight that I provided in this video and you want to get a little more of it, the subscribe button is going to let me put all of my content into your newsfeed. I do 6 uploads a week, near daily uploads ranging from gameplay videos, meta discussions, deck profiles, and then tier lists and all kinds of things like this too, talking about the ban list, talking about the news, talking about big events, covering deck lists, just tons and tons of fun stuff that I would love for you to be a part of, and I would really appreciate your support on the matter, as well as your feedback via the comments section and the like or dislike button on this video itself. That's all the time I've got for today though, guys. Thanks so much again for watching, and I hope I'll see y'all in the next video.